Welcome back to my channel. My name's Alyssa and I'm happy you're here. Today we're going to be talking about my knitting must-haves. These are, what I would rebuy if anything were to happen to them immediately. I require these in my knitting arsenal. Everything included today will be in no particular order, but it will be linked down below. So let's get started. Okay, starting with the obvious, we have knitting needles. So I love and I'm a huge fan of interchangeable needle sets. I have the Takumi Clover bamboo needle set and the ChiaoGoo stainless steel interchangeable set. Once I got my sock knitting needle interchangeable set, or like the very small needles, I was a changed woman. I am a stainless steel needle girl. I love how slippery it is. I don't know that I will ever go back to wooden or bamboo needles willingly, but they are good to have in your arsenal. I started with the Takumi set as my first big investment into my knitting journey. This was the first big investment in my knitting journey. Before I got this Takumi set, I was using straight needles exclusively, and maybe I should have prefaced this section with circular needles because I promise it is life-changing for your wrist health and just overall ease and comfort. Circular needles are the way to go. But like I said, I am a stainless steel girl now, and so I'm always reaching for my ChiaoGoo set. I love how many options this one comes with in terms of needle sizes. And I plan to, fill in the gaps that are missing. So, one that I actually wish it included was the 3mm size, which I find is actually pretty common for the patterns that I'm interested in, but it didn't come with the set. Anyways, I digress. I'll do a more robust review of my interchangeable needles sometime in the future. So if you're interested in that, please leave a comment below. I would say this is probably in order so far as most important because it's really difficult to knit without knitting needles. But next, my most important, most critical tool in the toolkit are my light bulb stitch markers. And honestly, I haven't purchased a single one of these. I get them from my clothes often. I save them when they're what is attaching a tag to a new item of clothing. And I've just kind of accumulated 50 over the past couple of years, both for my own clothing items, my boyfriend, and then tags on random things. I always make sure to keep these, and I have them like clipped on every zipper I can find related to my knitting tools, so I always have some close by. I also have these plastic stitch markers, and these ones are pretty good. I especially like how much more space is available here for larger needles, but I do prefer the metal ones just because I feel like these plastic ones snag a little bit easier just because the clasp isn't as tight. Next up is a way to cut your yarn. I love these adorable little scissors that I found on Amazon, but they're definitely not, a requirement. But this is a great gift idea. I find that I put off this purchase for a really long time because it kind of felt like I can just use the kitchen scissors or rip the yarn by hand. But I keep these just pinned up next to me on my bulletin board, and I find it really handy to just have them there. I don't only use them for my yarn, I use them for like miscellaneous things I need to cut at my desk, but you know, it's just a couple of dollars. Like I said, a great gift idea, and they're adorable to look at, so I keep those in my toolkit. Next up is a crochet hook. Now, throwing a little curveball in there, but I love having a crochet hook along in my project bag or project box to help fix errors. If you slip a stitch, the easiest way to fix it is with a crochet hook. I find that I don't really care if the size isn't perfect, so the one that I typically use is 4.5 or 5 millimeters because I find that it's pretty versatile in terms of fixing the project at hand. So it's nice to have one of those close by. This next one isn't very pretty, and I don't have it in a nicely presentable way, but it is a flexible measuring tape. This is critical when you start to knit garments or are creating something that you need a certain amount of length before you switch or change or end. Highly recommend a flexible measuring tape. Again, this can be a great gift if you get some of the like cute extendable ones, but I just use this one that I got in a cheap Amazon sewing kit like 6 years ago. Next is a project bag. I love this size for project bags, particularly for small projects, of course. Like there's not that much that's gonna fit in here, probably one skein of yarn and a pair of socks as you're knitting out of that same skein. But I really love finding like clearance bin pencil cases or makeup bags. I find those are really handy for project bags. Also, like old tote bags, I have sewn a zipper in to keep the project contained, but reuse something that otherwise would probably end up in the trash. In that same vein, I love using these plastic totes from Amazon as my project keepers. I actually have a project right here that I'm keeping in the tote. Now, this is not so good if you're taking a project on the go. So as you can see, I have both a soft bag inside, but also this hard-sided tote here. I just find that when I am bringing my projects around the house, I prefer this hard-sided tote. Honestly, it's because I don't have a lot of hands, and so I can put like my coffee in here, a water bottle, my phone. It's much easier to carry everything I need from like my office chair to the couch without multiple trips or dropping anything. So I really love these plastic totes. I haven't seen anyone else use hard-sided project containers, so leave a comment below if this is something that you would be interested in trying, or if you think I'm just crazy and should use a soft-sided bag like everyone else. I'm going to include my Knit Picks ball winder in my essentials because although I don't think it's a requirement when you're early on in your knitting journey, I do think that when you start to level up, it's really handy to have. I particularly like it when I have a large skein of yarn and it's starting to lose its shape because I'm like halfway done with it. I really love to rewind the ball so that I prevent knotting, as I get closer to the end. So that's a really handy thing for the ball winder. I found that most yarn stores, if they're selling you a hank of a skein, a skein in a hank, they'll wind it for you if you just ask. And it may add like 10 or 15 minutes onto your total visit time, but it's pretty expensive to invest in a Swift and ball winder, so it's definitely not a requirement. But the ball winder, this plastic one from Knit Picks, is pretty reasonably priced. And I think once you are going through quite a bit of yarn, it is nice to have. I have this coffee mug of miscellaneous needles, but what I really wanted to highlight here is the double pointed needle set. This is actually an really reasonably priced Amazon kit that came with like 12 sizes of crochet hooks and double pointed needles. I will say the quality is not amazing, but it gets you by. Like, for the price, great. Only if you're buying them for the double pointed needles. The crochet hooks, I do not recommend. Unless you want to go out and buy some sandpaper to sand in between here, because they did not do a great job of making sure that this is sanded well, and if you try to crochet with it, it will snag no matter what. So I don't use the crochet hooks, but I think they're cute. So I keep them in case of emergency, but the double pointed needles are great. And I actually bind most of mine together with these tiny little rubber bands. So it's easy to find their partners. I've only had one of them break, and I'm pretty sure I sat on it, so big deal. And it was the one that I replaced, it was really tiny. It was a 2.25 millimeter set that broke. So like, I mean, look at how tiny those are. Of course it broke when I sat on it, on an airplane, which was tragic because I couldn't keep knitting. Anyways, tangent, sorry. Finally, I wanted to end with an honorable mention of this reading light. It has a couple different settings. I got it by recommendation of Knitty Natty for knitting on the couch. My boyfriend doesn't love to have overhead lighting above us while it's the evening. And so I went ahead and, well, I actually got this as a gift, but I added it to my Amazon list because of how much Natalie raved about it. I'm a fan, I like it. I think it's pretty convenient. I honestly think this would be amazing like on an airplane or in the car, but I haven't used it for either of those yet. I shamelessly use my overhead light on an airplane, and I know that's not really very nice of me, but like, I don't know, I paid to be there, like I can use my light so I can knit. Next time I fly, I'll definitely think about bringing this along with me to maybe be a little bit nicer to my seatmates. All right, I think that's everything that's in my must-have knitting toolkit. Let me know in the comments below if I'm missing anything, if you're shocked that I don't have this on my list, and I will make sure to check it out, potentially leave a review, and let me know if you really need it in your repertoire. Again, my name's Alyssa. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.